Hello everyone, and welcome to this CAFÉ training video, and it's intended to be more on the advanced side. I'm not going to really cover the basics of CAFÉ. I mean, I'll touch on some things here and there, but the main goal for this is to show you how you can maximize CAFÉ and use it to enter your data, and at the same time create some very formatted reports that are connected to TM1 that you can use so that you can present to management or copy paste into presentations. So with that, I'll start. So I have here a very simple, quick demo cube that we created. It's pretending to be like some type of store that sells some camping gear and some sports soccer equipment for the purpose of this training. So what we have here is a Crosstab. So I'm going to just assume that you already know TM1 and have some experience in TM1 Web on how to create cube views, how to navigate a cube view, and how to pivot it and search it and whatnot. CAFÉ mainly is just more plugins so that you can connect directly from Excel so that you don't have to go to the TM1 Web part of TM1. So with that, we are going to create a Crosstab, very simple one, and you go by creating a new Crosstab, and you're going to have all your different dimensions that you can just expand, drag and drop into your report. In this case, my cube view is pretty bare. There's really not a lot of data in there, so I'm going to go back to the sheet I already had. And it's going to be one of these, this one. So in this case, you see my products, and you see that I have some data in some of these products for tents and sleeping bags. And this is my net sales revenue, which is a formula cell in this model. Well, I want to drop this down, and I want to start entering data for the rest of the products. For the pads, flashlights, and then some stuff for the soccer equipment. So in this case, again, I'm going to assume that you know your data intersections, and I'm not going to drop into that detail. So here I'm going to drop down to quantity, and you can see that I've had some quantity already for tents and sleeping bags. So now directly in here in this CAFÉ, you can copy and paste your information if you want, right, directly in here. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and type in a 10, and then just copy and paste that 10 all across. Copy this section one more time and drop it down to the outdoors or soccer equipment. And within here, if I just click on this commit icon, it's going to prompt me whether I want to, if I'm sure to commit it. I'm going to say yes, and that's going to commit that value directly into TM1. One way to find out that this is actually working is that you can see the consolidation level of the total year here. So if I go ahead and highlight all of these pads here, you see the 120 that it's there, and so forth. You see it's all adding up to the quantity. So in this case, this is just quantity. And if I want to enter the unit sales price, in this case, this is a calculated field that I'm not going to be able to enter any data in here. But if I drop down to my gross sales value, I could enter my full amount. So let's just pretend that we're going to project that we're going to make a certain amount of gross sales for the year of 2017, as an example. So I'm pretending that I'm going to make $800 on sleeping bags. Alright, well, maybe for tents I'm gonna sell a total of 15,000 or 1,500 a month. So I'm gonna copy and paste that all the way across. And then for pads, let's say we're gonna only probably make 500 a month for this projection here. Copy and paste that. Flashlights, let's keep this down to 100. Copy and paste, and then I'm just going to commit my data by clicking yes. I'm sure I want to commit this. So now here you see that I very quickly entered my information, and that's all you need to do to really enter your information. If you're, again, familiar with your own data, you can pivot this any which way. I can go ahead and drag my accounts over to my rows, because let's say I want to see all of the different accounts that are available to me for each of my products. In this case, you see I have some return and allowances, some cash discounts if I wish to enter that information. I have the cost of what it's going to cost me to buy these, what am I going to purchase these tents and sleeping bags for, or if I'm actually the manufacturer, what's going to be the cost of making these products. But in this case, I'm just going to pretend I'm just buying and reselling it, kind of a Costco type thing. You're wholesaling it to retail. So that's about as simple as you can get. If you have another tab that has, I don't know, maybe you have tents here, and then you have information. You can always reference that information directly into your Crosstab. In this case, I'm going to just remove my accounts back out of here, just to make this a little bit cleaner and easy to view. So if I have my quantity here, I can actually reference this information. So I'm going to click on C16 and just hit the equal sign and go back to my sheet 5 and reference this 10 of 564. You see that now it's referencing sheet 5. If I hit commit, I'm going to save that. You are saving the actual cell reference, that the data where it sits on sheet 5. Okay. One way to know that it actually did read it is, well, because for one, your total year definitely increased by a lot, and this color switches to reddish. Why? Because that's a big indicator that, hey, this is not a value per se directly in this crosstab. This is a cell reference, so it just gives you an indication that it's being read from a different source. Okay, so along with that, you can start getting creative on building things out in a crosstab and making them fancy. Well, now I'm going to show you how I can convert this crosstab or a particular view, crosstab or exploration, however you want to call it, how I can create a nice fancy report where I could just enter my data and then go to a different tab and really see a nice report ready to give to management or to any peer that's looking for information on how well our product's selling. Alright, so I'm going to start from scratch on this one, and here I think I have everything I want. I do want to create a report for a full total year. Okay, make a nice little fancy report. I'm pretty sure I could give this to management, but in my past experience, they want to see a nice formatted, titles and bolded items and whatnot. Along with that, this is where we're going to start now transitioning into flex views. So a flex view is just another way to create a report in CAFÉ. You can create a flex view by two ways. One, I'll show you directly here by clicking on the flex view button to convert to a flex view. Or if you already had a view saved in your private folder, or most organizations create some public views so that you can just reuse those as you like. You can also just drag and drop those into a new sheet. So with this one, I'm just going to go ahead and say convert to a flex view, and now you see that I have a flex view that looks really similar to my crosstab. But now I no longer have the option of going into rows, columns, or context section there anymore. So let me go back. I think it's on this one. I no longer have the flexibility of pivoting my report anymore. So my report has now become a very static in structure, meaning in design-wise, so that I can't no longer move my products back out to my contacts. I can't no longer change my months down to my rows. So in that sense, it's kind of static, but you still have the same flexibility of entering data directly in your flex view. So here, just because I'm going to leave it exactly the same for a minute, I'm going to enter 200 there, and I'm going to click on this commit button, and I'm going to click commit. You see that my grand total changed, and it saved my value directly into TM1. So as you can see, you can use either the Crosstab exploration, or you can use this flex view to upload your information into TM1. You can also keep adding more accounts in here. Unfortunately, I don't have any more accounts to add. This is all I had in my dimension. But if you had another category of football equipment, you can just type in the equipment right in there. Or you can just highlight all of these items and activate your IBM Cognos analysis menu and do replace member. And then you can here expand your dimension and add the rest of the items that we're not showing. Okay, that's one way. Or you could just copy and paste them directly into here. Well, I don't want to do that. All right, so how can I make this into a very pretty report? Your thought, or you might be thinking, well, I could create a nice schedule, and I could have that schedule reference this information and call it a day. Well, yes, but you can also change this report to look very, very pretty. So what do I mean by that? So you can break up this report in chunks if you like, but you got to be careful where you insert rows and columns. You cannot break this context section here. That has to stay exactly where together. I mean, you could move it, but you have to move it in a group. And you can insert right after the last dimension here, or element in this case. Yeah, dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and insert here. I'm actually going to insert a couple more. Just highlight that and do an insert. And then just so that I keep this separate from what I've inserted, what I like to do, I just go ahead and do a format painter here and just highlight those items so that I know that, hey, this is my body of the report and this is my context of the report. So here I like also to get into the habit of clearing my data and refreshing my data. Why? Because sometimes, I mean, I've been working with this for quite some couple years now, your report sometimes will break. So you don't want to keep building a report that is broken and it's no longer refreshing. So I like to get into the habit of, clear it. If everything clears and everything refreshes, I'm still golden. I'm good to go. So now that I've inserted some columns there, I want to, change the whole color of this guy. So I'm just going to go to no fill. I'm going to remove all the borders there. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is that I don't want my products looking exactly the way they are. I want my my total product at the bottom, and then I want or sort this another way. And it's very easy for this. I mean, you can just copy and paste this product down here. It's going to refresh your data automatically as long as you do it in this next row after your last item. But if you do it, if you skip one, it's no longer going to refresh your information. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click cancel that. So I'm just going to go ahead and build my structure, by just doing some quick copy and pasting here. I want my tents, sleeping pads, and flashlights on top. So I'm just going to paste it in here real quick, and I'll show you why. And then I'm going to select my soccer equipment and paste it down here. And then now I'm going to select everything here that I pasted, and I'm going to paste it back here on the top. So now this should have updated my information exactly like that. Now I don't need any of these three items because I'm just going to delete those and delete these as well. Now I have a nice my accounts there exactly like I want them, with my total product at the end, at the bottom. Right, so now what I'm going to say now is this is going to be total projected sales for 2017. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove my grid lines. I'm going to select the total product. I'm going to put nice little formatting there. And now you might be saying, well, yeah, it's great, but this guy's in the way. Well, no problem. We could just go ahead and highlight this and do either hide, or I started with hiding stuff, but then I got into the habit of creating groups. That way I could just remind myself what's been hiding. So now I've go ahead and I did a nice formatting of this report, and it's great. So here, one thing you can do is so that you can keep this somewhat dynamic, I said here total projected sales. However, my selection is quantity, so you might be misled there. Okay, so just make sure that you select the correct element that you want. So in this case, I need to switch this quantity to sales. So how do I do that? Again, if you're very basic, just let me know. I will go ahead and create another video with just backing up a little bit here and doing more basic stuff. But if you're a little bit familiar with CAFÉ already, you can always just right click on the dimension. Okay, lagging here, and then you go ahead and do replace member, and that's going to come up with a subset editor where I can select any of the rest of the accounts I want. You can also create a drop down. So let's say I add the rest of my items or the rest of my accounts. I'm going to go ahead and drag them over there. So now I have all of my accounts. If I click OK now, that's going to make this item a drop down, so that I don't have to either go in here, right click and replace member, or if you have the option of user type and refresh properties on, you can just go ahead and type it in there and it will refresh it. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do a gross sales or revenue. Yeah, that should be fine. And then it should automatically update for me, and then if it doesn't, you can just go ahead and click a refresh, and that's going to refresh your information. Okay. Now what you can do is that you can go ahead and just keep adding all of your formatting. You know, I'm going to put all this as dollar signs and just kind of open up my cells a little bit. The bottom one is kind of ugly there. There we go, a little better. So now I have a nice report that I can change anything that I want to see, and it will update accordingly. So I'll go back and do quantity. For some reason, right now, it's always when you do a demo or recording or a training, you always get these hiccups here. But in any event, just go ahead and click on refresh after you select quantity. I'm going to drop down to cash discounts, and it's nothing there. And although it's not visible to you at the moment, I can actually enter and write data directly in here. So we typically get away from that. It all depends on how you want to do your report. But I can always go back to my original Crosstab and enter my data, or directly into this one, as long as you know where you're at, what intersection you're picking. You can, you know, here I'm going to go smaller number, and then click commit, click OK, and you see that it was written correctly because it's consolidating to my total year, and now I have my total product of 50 there for cash discounts. So now when I go to my total sales revenue, that information should be reflected in here. Okay, but please don't get all caught up in my data. My data is garbage. I'm just, as you can see, I'm updating and entering any number just to show you. So in this case, you have a nice pretty report, and if you want to make this this net sales dynamic, you can what we've done is we convert it into a yellow, and then I'm going to reselect this and ungroup this. And then I could just go ahead and start grouping other items here. Okay, I'll group these guys. So now I have nice pre-report where I can go ahead and toggle between the different accounts and see my information. All right. Maybe you want to create a so here I will say net sales report. Okay, and you can also copy these flex views. It's not a big it's somewhat delicate, but you can copy these. One way to really make sure that you're copying things correctly is that I try to I'll try to get in the habit of expanding my current FlexView folder so that I know how many FlexViews are currently in my report. And then when I do a move or copy, you have to create a copy in the same file, or you can move it to another file, but that's more delicate. When I execute this copy, my current FlexView should multiply by 1. Okay, so now you see I have 2. So now I just copied my FlexView, my original one, into a brand new one. So now I can keep this guy as net sales revenue, and then maybe this guy I want to name it quantity. Okay, and then I'll just rename my tab down here. Okay, so as you can see, as soon as I clicked on quantity, my data did change automatically. If it didn't change, you can always just go ahead and click on the refresh. And right now you saw that, because you could go back in the video, you saw that my FlexView toolbar disappeared for whatever reason. Well, one quick way to get it back is just clicking on the IBM Cognos button up here, and that brought it back. Okay, so there you have it. It's a very quick way to use the power of CAFÉ, and this is strictly connected to TM1. There's no cell references, as you see here. There's nothing going on. It's it's very, very powerful in that sense. You can also add more flex views or more views into your report. So maybe now you want to have your quantities on the top, and you want to have your net sales at the bottom. Yes, you can always go back into your Crosstab, and you can move your quantity or your accounts over in front of Tent so that you can see all of the different accounts there. And when you send this to a flex view, you will be able to show them, all right, well, this first section is quantity, the next section is unit price and gross sales, and then net sales. You can do that as well. And then now you just have to go ahead and follow the same steps as before, inserting some rows and columns and formatting your report all over again, if you like. If you don't, what you can do is you can just go ahead and drag your view right onto here. Well, because I don't have it saved, I'm going to have to save it. So give me a quick second here. I'm going to make this back to the same way it was, and I'm going to save this view. Now it shows up in under my private views folder. When I go back to my net sales report tab, I can just go ahead and drag this view right down here. And when you drag a new flex view onto your tab, it does kind of mess up your columns width. So you're just gonna have to play with that a little bit. Re-put them back the way it was. And now what you can do, a very simple way, because you already have the correct order up here, just copy and paste that down here. Okay, get rid of these bottom portion ones. You can also highlight this whole section and do a format painter and format it. I'm just going to format these bottom ones here that were there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that data there. So now what I have is sales revenue on top, and then I'm going to have my quantity at the bottom. So you can make these static. Well, in this case I could put it right there. I could move the sales and make this quantity, and because these might not be moving anymore, or for sure this is always going to be sales and this is always going to be quantity, well, you could just go ahead and hide these guys. In this case, I did put it there so I won't be able to hide it, but again, you could insert the rows, copy this guy here to the bottom, and then highlight this big old section here and group that together, and then we just get rid of that stuff. I mean, so you see it's a little tedious because you got to keep doing formatting and stuff, but once you have your report, it's there. You save your Excel spreadsheet, and then you can just go ahead and share it with a colleague that has the same security structure as you, and you could copy and paste this directly into a presentation. You can use Excel to add graphs to the right hand side or to the bottom. If you wanted to look at more items down here, you could always drag it down. And now is where we're going to get a little bit more in depth with this. I'm here have regions and countries, so you might be using Mexico right now, but you also might want to use the other countries that we have available. And maybe you want to see a consolidated report that shows you all of the sales for the full countries. Okay, so I'm guessing you're not going to want to keep coming back into each single report, unhide these items, and select the different countries that we have there. So one way to work around that is that you can also do sub-references in these contexts. Yeah, so I could have a instruction sheet. Let's just say here instructions, and then I could have here select country. Alright, and then here I can use a drop down that I can actually create directly from or my data directly from TM1. So what I can do now, I could go back into my Crosstab, and I'm going to go back to, I know I had a copy of this sheet too. So in this one here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and just show you some neat tricks on how you can do this. I'm going to move my countries into my rows, okay, and only Mexico shows up, but I want to see all of them. So if I go here to the edit set and select this insert member with descendants, clear this portion out, and then I'm going to say total company. Now it brings all of my countries here. Okay, so now that I have all these, I can just copy this and put it over here somewhere in my instruction page, and then I'll create a drop down here directly here, do list, and do highlight my list here and click OK, and now I have my nice pretty list there, where I again make this guy yellow and have an instruction here. Okay, please select the country you want to work with or whatnot. I mean, we'll leave that to for you to decide. So once I go back to my net sales report, I can point this country into my instruction sheet here, and I could do the same thing for the bottom one. Point this to my country, so that now every time that I want to change a country, I don't have to do it in two places. I just do it in one. I go back over here, select Europe, and go back to my report, and then just click refresh. That's the only caveat here, is it won't refresh your data automatically. You have to hit refresh, and in this case everything is going to show up 0 because there's no data in Europe. But like I said, I mean, if you know how you created this report, you can type in your data right in here and commit it. So that's one way you can do it. You can use FlexView to do your reporting. Actually, I won't be able to type in data into revenue because that's a calculated field, so I have to go back down to gross sales revenue and enter data. Consolidation. Alright, well, I have some type of because I'm in Europe, that's why that's a consolidation. so I have to drop down to a specific country within Europe. So within that, if you don't want to run into that problem, you can always remove those consolidations out of your drop list, or just, you'll know that, well, I can enter data for Europe. So now I'll refresh here one more time and redo the process. Save it, and here you go, my data is saved. Alright, so this is just a quick video. I know my intention was to do it shorter than 30 minutes, but as you can see, I can rattle and keep moving on and talking about other stuff. But this is pretty plain simple. You can create multiple other tabs to keep referencing data, and let me know if you liked the video. Let me know if it helped you, and I will try to put more videos together. Like I said, if you wanted a more basic, a step back on the CAFÉ, so I could go into details of what is an element, what is a dimension, but I'm just gonna assume that you're going on YouTube and trying to find a video that's gonna help you move your reports farther along, and some basic stuff is already out there, so you can take a look at that. Okay, well, along with that, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy it. Have a good one.